chosen one. If this message has found you, you must understand something with absolute clarity. This is not random. This is not coincidence. And this is not chance. There is a reason your awareness has been pulled into this exact moment, into these exact words, at this precise point in your life. Something has shifted. Something ancient, something cosmic. Something that has been waiting across lifetimes has aligned, and now it is calling you forward. Before you move any further, pause for a second and feel your breath. Feel the subtle energy moving through your chest, that quiet pull, that inner whisper telling you this is for you. That is not imagination. That is recognition. That is your soul remembering something it agreed to long before this moment existed. And listen closely, because this is where your path begins to deepen. Now, if you are ready to fully step into what April 6th is activating within you, then anchor yourself here. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and stay with me until the very end. Because what you are about to experience is not just information. It is activation. It is alignment. It is a signal that was always meant to reach you. There are moments in time that exist beyond ordinary understanding. Moments that act as doorways, invisible to most, yet undeniable to those who are attuned to deeper frequencies. April 6th is one of those moments. It is not simply a date on a calendar. It is a threshold, a convergence point where timelines begin to collapse and a new reality emerges. One that has always been waiting for you to step into it. You may have already felt the shift stirring within you. A strange restlessness that doesn't quite make sense. A pressure building beneath the surface of your life. Old patterns cracking without warning. Emotions rising without explanation. Relationships shifting. And reality itself feeling unstable, unfamiliar, almost like something is being rearranged behind the scenes. This is not chaos. Even though it may feel that way, this is recalibration. The universe is reorganizing itself around your awakening. And April 6th marks the moment where the illusion begins to dissolve. You are not losing control. You are stepping into alignment. And the more you resist it, the more intense it will feel. Because this shift is not optional. It is inevitable. Long before your physical existence, before your name, your identity, your memories, or the life you currently recognize as yours, there was a decision made at a level far deeper than the human mind can fully grasp. A contract was written not in ink, but in energy, intention, and purpose. You chose to be here now at this exact moment in history, not by accident, but by design, to witness, to transform, and to rise into something far beyond the ordinary human experience. April 6th was not randomly placed into your life. It was encoded into your timeline as a trigger point, a moment where dormant aspects of your soul would begin to awaken and surface into your awareness. This is why your life has never followed a normal path, why you have always felt slightly out of sync with the expectations placed upon you, why you could never fully fit into systems that demanded you shrink your essence. You were never meant for that kind of existence. You came here for something far greater, something that required timing, precision, and readiness. And now that moment has arrived. The clock has struck, and the part of you that has been waiting is beginning to rise. You have been feeling it. Even if you haven't fully been able to explain it to yourself or to anyone else, that quiet separation between you and the rest of the world, that sense that something about you operates on a different frequency, a different rhythm, a different level of awareness. You notice things others overlook. You feel emotions more deeply. You question structures that others accept without hesitation. And recently, this sensitivity has intensified in ways that may feel overwhelming at times. That is because the energetic field around you is shifting and your system is responding in real time. April 6th is amplifying your awareness, your intuition, your inner knowing, pulling you away from old versions of yourself that no longer resonate with who you are becoming. And this process is not always gentle. The truth that most people never realize until it is far too late is that awakening was never designed to feel comfortable. It does not arrive like a peaceful sunrise, gently touching every part of your life with clarity and ease. It arrives like pressure beneath the surface of your reality, slowly cracking apart everything that was built on illusion. It tears through identities you spent years protecting. It exposes emotional wounds you believed had already healed. It forces you to confront the difference between who you truly are and the version of yourself you created simply to survive in a world that rewarded disconnection. What you're experiencing right now is not dysfunction, no matter how chaotic it may appear from the outside. This is transformation unfolding in real time. The exhaustion, the emotional intensity, the strange feeling that parts of your old life no longer fit the person you are becoming. All of it is the result of an internal shift that can no longer remain hidden beneath the surface. There is friction because two versions of you are colliding at once. One version was built from conditioning, fear, obligation, and adaptation. The other is beginning to emerge from somewhere far deeper, a version rooted in truth rather than survival. Every major transformation carries a phase where collapse becomes unavoidable. There is always a moment when what once seemed secure begins to dissolve right in front of you. Not because you are broken, not because you made the wrong choices, and not because the universe has abandoned you, but because evolution requires the old structure to fall apart before something more aligned can take its place. Look honestly at your life for a moment. Pay attention to what has quietly started slipping away. Certain relationships no longer carry the same energy they once did. Conversations that used to feel natural now leave you emotionally drained. Goals you once chased obsessively suddenly feel empty. Parts of your identity that once gave you comfort now feel strangely distant, almost as if you are watching an outdated version of yourself slowly disappear. Deep down, you already know this process is happening, even if part of you is still trying to resist it. There are things being removed from your path because they were never meant to travel with you into the next stage of your life. This is not punishment, even though emotionally it can feel like loss. This is preparation at the highest level. April 6th is not only activating the timeline connected to your expansion, it is simultaneously dismantling everything incapable of existing within that reality. The relationships that encouraged you to shrink yourself, the beliefs that distorted your sense of worth, the emotional patterns rooted in fear, insecurity, and self-doubt. All of these structures are beginning to dissolve because they cannot survive where you are being guided next. And yes, there is pain in that process. There is grief in realizing how much of your life was built around adaptation rather than authenticity. There is discomfort in watching familiar realities collapse before the new path becomes fully visible. But what feels like something being taken away is actually something being released from your spirit. You are not losing what belongs to you. You are being separated from what was never aligned with your deeper truth in the first place. At a certain stage of every chosen soul's journey, there comes a moment where the path they believed they were supposed to follow suddenly disappears beneath their feet. Plans stop unfolding the way they expected. Doors they fought desperately to open remain unmoved, no matter how much effort they apply. Directions that once felt certain begin fading into confusion. And during that moment, the human mind immediately assumes failure. It assumes rejection. It assumes something has gone wrong. But what is really happening is far more significant than most people understand. This is the point where the universe intervenes and begins redirecting your life away from conditioned desires and toward genuine alignment. April 6th does not arrive asking whether your ego feels prepared for this shift. The activation moves forward regardless because your soul already agreed to this transformation long before your conscious mind became aware of it. Some doors are remaining closed because they were connected to identities, you are no longer meant to embody. Some paths are refusing to move forward because they belong to timelines you have already spiritually outgrown. This is not rejection. This is redirection operating with precision. The universe is no longer responding to the version of you that was built around fear and external validation. It is responding to the deeper truth hidden beneath all of that conditioning. And that truth carries a level of power you are only beginning to recognize within yourself. You are not being blocked from your future. You are being guided into the version of it that actually matches your soul. The moment you truly understand that, your entire perspective begins shifting. Right now, you are standing in a space that very few people consciously reach during their lifetime. Behind you exists the reality you can no longer fully return to. The old identities, the emotional survival mechanisms, the limitations you once accepted as permanent, all of them are slowly falling away piece by piece. In front of you exists an entirely different frequency of life waiting to be claimed. A reality that no longer operates through fear, performance, or self-abandonment. April 6th stands directly between these two versions of existence. It is the threshold separating who you were from who you are becoming. And the choice being presented to you now is not made through words alone. It is made through energy, through the actions you take, through what you continue holding on to and what you finally allow yourself to release. This moment asks for a kind of courage the outside world rarely understands, not loud confidence, not visible dominance, but the quiet internal strength required to trust yourself while walking towards something you cannot fully see yet. It asks you to keep moving even when certainty disappears. It asks you to release what feels familiar and step willingly into the unknown, because somewhere beyond the fear, beyond the resistance, and beyond the emotional uncertainty you have been carrying, there is a version of your power waiting to fully awaken. And once this process reaches a certain intensity, there is no returning to unconsciousness. There comes a stage in every awakening where the energy stops feeling distant and begins feeling undeniable. The intuition you once questioned becomes impossible to silence. The internal voice you tried ignoring begins following you through every part of your day. Synchronicities become stronger. Emotional awareness sharpens. Reality itself starts feeling like it is trying to get your attention from every direction at once. This is the phase you are entering now, and once you cross into it completely, your life will never again feel the way it once did. What first arrived quietly inside you as a subtle emotional shift has now become impossible to separate from your everyday existence. It is no longer just a passing feeling or an unexplained intuition lingering at the edge of your awareness. It has become something you carry everywhere, woven into your thoughts, your reactions, your body, and the way you now move through the world around you. You may have noticed that certain environments no longer feel tolerable in the way they once did. Conversations that used to feel normal now leave you emotionally exhausted. Situations you previously accepted without question suddenly feel unbearable to your spirit. There is a growing inability to pretend that everything is fine when some deeper part of you already knows it is not. And this realization can feel frightening because once awareness expands beyond a certain point, returning to unconsciousness becomes impossible. What you are experiencing is not meaningless discomfort, and it is not emotional instability without direction. This is activation unfolding at a deeper level than before. April 6th has intensified your awareness so dramatically that avoidance can no longer protect you from the truth trying to emerge inside your life. You are being pushed toward clarity, whether your mind feels prepared for it or not. The emotional heaviness, the restlessness, the sudden awareness of things you previously ignored, all of it exists because your soul is demanding honesty now. You are being asked to truly see, to fully feel, and to acknowledge truths you may have spent years burying beneath distraction, obligation, and survival patterns. The energy surrounding this moment is not here to destroy you. It is here to wake you up completely. It is stripping away illusion layer by layer so you can finally come face to face with the person you truly are beneath everything the world taught you to become. And illusions never disappear quietly. They fight to survive. They distort reality as they collapse. They attempt to convince you that staying asleep is safer than evolving. This is why the process may feel emotionally overwhelming at times. The identities you once depended on, the beliefs that shaped your self-image, the stories you repeated to explain your life, all of them are being dismantled piece by piece. At moments, it may feel as though the ground beneath your reality is shifting so rapidly that nothing feels certain anymore. You may question yourself. You may question your path. You may even feel as though life itself has become unstable. But understand this deeply because it matters more than you realize. What is falling apart was never rooted in truth to begin with. April 6th is exposing hidden misalignment within your life. It is revealing the structures that were built from fear rather than authenticity. It is dissolving the patterns that once kept you disconnected from your deeper power. This is not chaos for the sake of suffering. This is collapse for the sake of clarity. Because you cannot fully step into your true strength while continuing to carry illusions that limit what you believe is possible for your future. Somewhere between the reality you are leaving behind and the reality that has not fully formed yet, there exists a strange and sacred space most people do not understand. It is the in-between phase where nothing feels fully stable. A place where movement appears to stop, where certainty disappears, and where life can temporarily feel empty or directionless. Many people mistake this stage for failure. They assume they have become lost. They believe they are disconnected from purpose because external proof has not yet appeared. But this space is not meaningless. It is sacred transformation unfolding beneath the surface. It is the silence between timelines. The moment when the old version of your life has finally loosened its grip, yet the new version has not completely arrived into physical form. You may be standing inside this space right now without fully realizing it, feeling uncertain about where life is leading you next, feeling disconnected from old motivations while still unable to clearly see what is replacing them. But this is not absence, it is incubation. April 6th has positioned you in a phase where your former identity can no longer define you, while your future self is still in the process of emerging. This is where deep transformation solidifies internally. This is where your energy recalibrates itself. This is where your spirit integrates every painful lesson, every emotional collapse, and every realization that has shaped your awakening so far. And this stage cannot be rushed simply because it feels uncomfortable. It must be lived through consciously. It must be trusted even when clarity feels incomplete. It must be honored because this is where your next reality is quietly forming beneath the surface. The challenge of this phase is that it asks something from you that cannot be forced through logic or performance. It asks for trust at a level deeper than most people have ever truly experienced, not temporary positivity, not surface-level belief repeated to avoid fear, but genuine internal trust in something your physical eyes cannot fully see yet. This is the exact point where many people turn back toward old versions of themselves. Fear convinces them to retreat into familiarity, even when that familiarity is slowly destroying their spirit. They choose predictable pain over uncertain transformation because uncertainty feels terrifying to the human mind. But you were not guided to this threshold so you could return backward. You were brought here to continue forward even while the path ahead is still unfolding. April 6th is not only activating your next chapter, it is revealing whether you are emotionally ready to walk into it. Real trust is not built by having every answer before taking action. It is built through continuing anyway, through moving forward while clarity is still incomplete, through understanding at a soul level that guidance exists even when your logical mind cannot yet explain the direction of your journey. For most of your life, you were taught to search outside yourself for certainty. You were conditioned to believe authority belonged to systems, institutions, relationships, and external voices that claimed to know what was best for you. You learned to doubt your instincts whenever they conflicted with accepted expectations. You learned to silence your inner knowing in order to gain approval, safety, or belonging. But this stage of your awakening is dismantling that conditioning completely. April 6th is activating something within you that no external force can truly control. Something that does not require permission to exist. Your inner authority is beginning to rise to the surface with undeniable intensity. You may already feel it happening. A stronger conviction in your decisions. A refusal to continue accepting realities that no longer resonate with your spirit. A growing inability to betray your own truth simply to remain comfortable or accepted by others. This is not meaningless rebellion. This is alignment taking form inside your life. And once this inner authority fully awakens, the way you move through the world will never again be the same. The version of you that once relied on the expectations of other people to determine direction is slowly disappearing. And this is why your path no longer feels compatible with the life you used to tolerate. You are entering a phase where following routes designed by others becomes emotionally impossible. The inner resistance you feel whenever you attempt to force yourself back into old patterns is not confusion. It is your deeper awareness refusing to betray itself any longer. You were never meant to spend your life walking toward destinations chosen through fear, obligation, or the need for approval. You were meant to create a path that emerges from your own inner knowing, a direction guided not by external authority, but by the quiet intelligence rising from within your spirit. And the more you begin trusting that internal voice, the more powerful and undeniable it becomes. What once sounded like a faint whisper inside your intuition is gradually transforming into a force strong enough to redirect the course of your entire life. But every true transformation contains a threshold, and every threshold awakens something hidden deep within the human mind. Fear. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because fear always appears when your soul approaches a level of expansion greater than the identity you have known before. As you move closer to the edge of this awakening, as you begin sensing how much your reality is truly changing, fear will inevitably rise to the surface. It may not arrive in obvious ways. Sometimes it disguises itself as hesitation, overthinking, procrastination, or the sudden urge to retreat back into familiar habits. Sometimes it whispers that you are not prepared, that you are incapable, or that stepping into the unknown is too dangerous. It may convince you that waiting a little longer feels safer than moving forward now. But understand this clearly, because it changes everything once you truly realize it. Fear is not evidence that you should stop. Fear is evidence that you are standing directly in front of growth, powerful enough to alter your entire identity. It appears precisely when you approach the boundaries of who you used to be. April 6th brought you to this exact threshold intentionally. The shift unfolding within you was never designed to happen without challenge. Your soul already knew fear would surface because fear is part of the initiation itself. This moment is not asking you to become fearless before taking action. It is asking you to continue despite the fear, to walk through it instead of waiting for it to disappear. Because on the other side of that fear exists a version of yourself that has been trying to emerge for far longer than you realize. Once you truly hear the call within your spirit, once you recognize that your awareness is changing, there is no genuine way to return to the person you used to be. You may attempt it for a while. You may revisit old patterns, reconnect with environments that once felt comfortable, or try convincing yourself that nothing inside you has fundamentally shifted. But eventually something will always feel incomplete. Conversations that once satisfied you will suddenly feel empty. Goals that once motivated you will lose their emotional grip. Even moments that appear normal externally will carry a strange sense of misalignment internally, because you have already crossed a point where unconsciousness can no longer fully contain you. April 6th activated a deeper level of awareness inside your spirit, and once consciousness expands beyond a certain threshold, it cannot return to its previous state. The inner call you feel is not temporary curiosity, and it is not some passing emotional phase. It is a permanent expansion of your consciousness. The more you attempt to silence it, the stronger it becomes. The more you avoid it, the louder it echoes through every part of your life. This is not an energy you were meant to escape from. It is an invitation you were always meant to answer, because it is guiding you towards something profoundly aligned with your deeper power, your authentic purpose, and the version of yourself hidden beneath years of conditioning. At a certain point during every authentic awakening, there comes a quiet moment where everything internally begins locking into place. Not dramatically, not through some explosive external event, but through a subtle shift in perception that changes the way you experience reality forever. The confusion that once clouded your awareness starts dissolving little by little, and in its place, a grounded certainty begins rising from within. It does not need validation from the outside world, because it carries its own truth. April 6th initiated this exact transformation within you. Whether you fully understand it mentally or not, your energy has already changed. You may notice yourself reacting differently to situations that once deeply affected you. Things that previously triggered emotional chaos may suddenly lose their power over your nervous system. Your tolerance for emotional dishonesty, misalignment, and environments that suppress your spirit may feel dramatically lower than before. This is happening because your internal frequency has recalibrated itself. You are aligning with a version of yourself that perceives life from a much higher level of awareness than before. And this shift is not temporary. It does not fade away after a few emotional moments. It becomes the new, energetic foundation through which you experience your reality moving forward. As this transformation deepens, the world around you inevitably begins responding to the changes occurring within you. Not everyone will understand who you are becoming. In fact, some people may feel as though they no longer recognize you at all. Relationships that once felt natural may begin carrying tension without explanation. Certain conversations may suddenly feel forced, shallow, or emotionally disconnected. People who once seemed deeply connected to your life may gradually drift further away despite your attempts to maintain closeness. This can feel painful at first because part of the human heart naturally fears separation. But this process is not evidence that you are losing something meaningful. It is evidence that your energy is no longer operating at the same frequency as environments and relationships rooted in old versions of yourself. April 6th is not only transforming your inner world, it is reorganizing your external reality to match the person you are becoming internally. The people aligned with your evolving frequency will slowly begin entering your life, while connections tied to outdated patterns will naturally begin fading from your experience. And although this transition may sometimes feel isolating, it is necessary for your expansion. You are not meant to continue carrying relationships that require you to shrink yourself emotionally, spiritually, or mentally in order to maintain them. You are meant to align with people capable of resonating with your authentic self, rather than the mask you once wore to survive. And as you continue trusting the transformation unfolding inside you, as you stop resisting the shift and begin moving with it instead of against it, something extraordinary begins taking shape beneath the surface of your life. As this transformation continues unfolding inside your life, you may begin noticing something that once felt impossible, slowly becoming natural. Opportunities start appearing from directions you never expected. Situations that once seemed blocked begin opening with surprising ease. Paths that previously felt complicated suddenly become clear without the struggle you once believed was necessary. And the most important thing to understand is that these moments are not random accidents appearing without meaning. They are reflections of your alignment, finally beginning to manifest externally. When your inner world changes deeply enough, reality eventually reorganizes itself around that shift. Doors that remained closed during older phases of your life may now begin opening effortlessly, because the version of you standing before them is no longer operating from the same energy. Circumstances that once demanded constant force and exhaustion may begin resolving themselves naturally, because you are no longer fighting against your own alignment. This is not luck appearing out of nowhere. This is the visible effect of internal transformation, finally reaching the physical level of your experience. April 6th activated a timeline where your outer reality starts mirroring the truth developing within you. The more honestly you embody who you truly are, the more your environment responds in kind. You may feel unexpectedly drawn toward new directions, unfamiliar ideas, different ways of living, or possibilities you once ignored because they did not match the identity you previously carried. But these are not meaningless distractions pulling you away from your purpose. They are invitations guiding you closer toward the life that has quietly been waiting for your arrival. One of the deepest and most emotionally intense aspects of this awakening is the gradual release of your old identity. For years, you were taught to define yourself through experiences, roles, expectations, responsibilities, and beliefs shaped by the outside world. You learned to build a version of yourself based on adaptation rather than truth. But as this awakening deepens, something profound begins happening inside your awareness. You start realizing that much of what you believed was your authentic self was actually constructed from conditioning, survival, and external influence. April 6th is dissolving that false structure layer by layer. At times, this process may leave you feeling strangely empty, almost as though you no longer recognize yourself the way you once did. But this emptiness is not evidence that you are disappearing. It is evidence that illusion is leaving your system. You are not losing yourself. You are uncovering yourself beneath everything that once defined you artificially. And this revelation cannot be rushed, because your authentic identity is not something you force into existence through effort. It reveals itself gradually as you continue releasing what no longer belongs within your spirit. There is a rhythm moving beneath every stage of this process, a timing greater than human control, a hidden orchestration guiding events in ways the logical mind cannot always predict or fully understand. As you move deeper into this phase of your journey, you begin noticing that what once felt delayed now appears perfectly timed in hindsight. Situations you interpreted as missed opportunities suddenly reveal themselves as protection. Closed doors begin making sense. Detours reveal hidden purpose. Painful endings show themselves as necessary redirections rather than punishment. April 6th is aligning you with a much deeper understanding of timing itself. You are beginning to recognize that life is not unfolding randomly around you. It is unfolding intentionally, according to a rhythm your soul understands, even when your conscious mind struggles to trust it. Slowly, you stop trying to control every detail out of fear. You stop forcing outcomes that no longer resonate. Instead, you begin allowing life to unfold while following the quiet internal knowing, guiding you toward the right place, the right people, and the right experiences at the exact moment they are meant to arrive. This is not passive surrender. It is conscious alignment with a flow larger than your limited perspective can fully comprehend. And as your awareness continues expanding, something else begins changing within you as well. You start understanding the real power carried within every decision you make. Every thought, every action, every intention carries energy that shapes the direction of your reality. April 6th has intensified your sensitivity to this truth, making it harder to move unconsciously through your life the way you once did. You may notice that your choices suddenly feel heavier, more significant, almost as though your soul is demanding deeper honesty behind every decision. This is not pressure designed to overwhelm you. It is empowerment awakening inside your awareness. You are beginning to understand that you are not simply reacting to life passively while external circumstances control your destiny. You are actively participating in the creation of your future through the energy you embody each day. The decisions you make now do not only influence the present moment, they shape the trajectory of the reality you are stepping into. And the more aligned those choices become with your authentic self, the more your external world begins reflecting that alignment back to you with undeniable clarity. Beneath all of this transformation, beneath every collapse, every awakening, every emotional shift, something even deeper has quietly been waiting for the right moment to emerge into your awareness. Your true purpose. Not the version of purpose created through social expectations, achievements, or external approval, but the deeper reason your spirit chose to exist within this lifetime. The unique energy only you can bring into the world. As you continue releasing what no longer aligns with your truth and stepping more fully into authenticity, this deeper purpose slowly becomes easier to feel. It may not reveal itself all at once, because purpose rarely arrives through one dramatic moment. Instead, it begins guiding you subtly towards certain experiences, certain expressions, certain paths that resonate with your soul at a level beyond logic. April 6th activated this process, setting powerful changes into motion that will gradually move you closer toward fully embodying the reason you came here. And the most important thing to understand is that your purpose is not something you endlessly chase through struggle and desperation. It is something you allow yourself to align with by becoming more truthful about who you are. As your alignment deepens further, as your energy stabilizes into a higher frequency, and your awareness sharpens beyond old limitations, there is often one final wave of resistance that rises unexpectedly within the process. This moment can feel confusing because it sometimes appears precisely when life begins making more sense than before. Suddenly old fears return, old thoughts resurface, old emotional patterns attempt to pull you backward into versions of yourself you thought you had already outgrown. But this is not failure, and it is not proof that your progress is disappearing. This is the echo of your former identity making one final attempt to preserve itself. April 6th did not only activate your new timeline, it also initiated the collapse of everything incapable of surviving within it. And sometimes collapse creates resistance before complete release occurs. You may feel moments of doubt. You may question whether your path is real. You may even feel tempted to return to environments and patterns that once felt emotionally safe simply because they are familiar. But familiarity is not the same as truth. Familiarity is not the same as alignment. And this is the moment where your soul asks you to choose based not on comfort, but on authenticity. Remember this deeply because it matters now more than ever. You are not abandoned. You are not wandering without direction, and you were never brought to this moment accidentally. Every step, every collapse, every awakening, and every realization has been guiding you toward this exact threshold. The path before you was always yours to walk, and now, perhaps for the first time in your life, you are finally ready to fully live it.